Hey,
But
good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone. We are trying a new thing here. My name is Arvind Ganti, and we are looking to try to do a cricket sort of a podcast, cricket video. I
mm,
love cricket, and I thought I wanted to, share my views and experiences around when I'm watching what the cricket is. With me, I have here is Saurav Singh, who's from Hyderabad. We call ourselves Hyderabad Boys, coming from land of Hyderabad. We want to, explore and enjoy cricket. And for today, we wanted to talk a little bit about India versus Australia, fourth test, Border versus Gavaskar Trophy. This is the first time we're trying to do this. Please accept our mistakes. We are learning. We have never done this before, so give us give us some love here, and we will use a little bit of Hindi as well. It'll be a mix of Hindi and English, but yeah, sort of just over to you.
hey everyone, so Saurav here. So I'm in Hyderabad. Arvind on the other side. He's in US. So it's a perfect combination of first world meeting third world. Now I leave it to you guys to categorize what is first world and what is third world. So yeah, as my friend said, this is about this particular entire discussion or this channel possibly for now it's going to be centered around cricket. Cricket as like Arvind said is our first love among a lot of other things that we love and like. And it's the same for me as well. I mean, I've been following cricket, and it's not limited to Indian cricket matches as far as I am concerned. I am a cricket fanatic, and I thought possibly this would be the right topic or subject to take forward our channel, and let's see how it goes from here.
Yeah, I know you are more fanatic than me. I on other hand do watch it, but we एक ही US में रह रहे हैं, तो some of the times some of these cricket matches happen in the night, and I don't get a chance to watch it. So sometimes वो momentum चला जाता है, but yeah, I enjoy, and especially these days I like to follow India. I mean, India is doing really well overall, and and
Uh-huh.
thankfully that whole India Australia series of 2019 I think 2019, where Rishabh Pant just really blew around. I think that's when the whole
Mm.
love for cricket came back again. Beach mein thoda the whole momentum was lost, and I could not follow it. But I think that was a turning point I felt for cricket. I really think Rishabh Pant was the guy there who did the magic there for me. So yeah, I
Okay.
thought today what we
Okay.
could do is we could just review our day one.
Sure.
We had our Border Gavaskar Trophy happening today in India. This is the 2023 Border Gavaskar Trophy. Series is at 2-1. India, I believe, is leading here. I correct me if I'm wrong. They won the
Yeah.
last they won the last
Yeah.
test very dramatically in 2 days, 2.5 days. Um, sorry, they lost. I'm sorry, they lost
The
the last
last.
test. We
Right.
should see
Yeah.
that. And so Australia has gotten back here. So where we are at is India needs to correct me if I'm wrong, Saurabh. India
Yeah.
needs
Yeah.
to
Sure.
win this to get confirmed their status in World Test Championship final happening in Lords later in the year. Australia has
So,
already qualified.
mhm. Yeah, so there are a lot of permutation and combinations. Possibly there are 3 to 4 scenarios right now floating around. So if India can close it, if the result of this particular match ends in a draw, I think it seals their position. It doesn't. They really don't have to depend upon what's happening on the other side of the world, which is New Zealand versus Sri Lanka, which by the way also have started. And
Very true.
it's I and if you just look at the end of the day score, it might not really please the Indian fans, because I would say Sri Lanka is kind of on the top there, and here Australia is kind of on the top. Although I feel it's kind of even Stevens as far as India and Australia is concerned. Although I think Australia has just got their neck a little bit up front, a little bit front. Um, but yeah, I think one of the scenarios is if India is able to draw the match. So irrespective what happens in New Zealand versus Sri Lanka series, India goes through.
Okay.
But if Australia is able to secure a win over here, then yeah, I think the entire India is going to get up at around 2:30, 3 o'clock. At least the test fanatics, whoever they are, to ensure that New Zealand defeats Sri
New
Lanka. And
Zealand
I think
defeats
New
Sri
Zealand,
Lanka.
anyways, is the second best favorite team of India as far as I know. So I think they anyways would be rooting for New Zealand.
Okay.
So that's what I think
So
currently, as far as
essentially,
yeah.
yeah. So essentially, India needs to win this to really seal this out. A draw still has a possibility,
Right.
but safe खेलना है तो India को जीतना है. This is the way it is.
That's the
So
way it is. And let's be very honest. Although I think Sri Lanka has played well on the day one, but it's very unlikely that Sri Lanka is going to defeat New Zealand in New
in New
Zealand
Zealand, that's
2-0.
true. Actually, it's going to be very
2-0.
tall ask for them. So
It's not you're asking New Zealand. Sri Lanka to defeat Sri Lanka to defeat New Zealand 1-0. They have to win the series 2-0. So
got it.
I think that's very unlikely. I'm not really sure when
That's
was
a
the last
very
time that.
tough task. Very tough task for Sri Lanka to do that. So yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
hoping then if India makes this through, India would be in the World Test Championship final. Australia is already in the final, thanks to their previous
right,
victory in Delhi. Uh,
right.
and I think, yeah, this happened at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. And when I opened the TV, actually, थोड़ा बीच में, they did not show everything. They showed it at the time when
Mm.
that national anthem was started to come and all that. That was very interesting to see that. I don't know what you call that wheel where I saw Modi and the Australian PM Albanese on that, and I was like, interesting. ये तो मतलब अलग ही चल रहा है यहाँ पे where the Indian PM is in his own state in the stadium
Yeah,
named after him, and I think he got felicitated, and I think there was that whole initial diplomatic angle
right,
played to that.
right.
I thought that was interesting. I guess India wanted to do that, considering that Australian PM was there, and that there was this whole
Yeah, right.
diplomatic
But
angle to that.
yeah, yeah, right. So I did send certain texts around that particular aspect to you, but it was very surprising that I think the entire Indian media, at least till yesterday, they were building up to the fact that this possibly is going to be the record crowd that's going to come up in. I would like to call it Motera. People like to call it Narendra Modi Stadium. Uh, I prefer Motera.
This
I
was
know
previously
Motera.
called Sardar Patel Stadium, Motera, correct?
Right. I think I prefer calling it Motera because it has that historical aspect attached to it. People who don't know, um, Motera was the ground, if I'm right, where Sunil Gavaskar became the first Indian to score 10K
Ten
runs,
thousand
10,000
runs.
runs.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
Yeah,
if I'm right, Kapil Dev also broke Sir Richard
correct.
Hadley's
The
record of
431
431,
draws
432,
past
if
that
it's whatever.
432.
Yeah, so call me nostalgic or whatever it is, but I will still like to call that as Motera. So I think the most surprising factor was first I think there was a huge build up to the test match. It's sort of a decider, although India has kind of sealed the BGT is going to stay with them. Uh, but with Modi in the stadium, I was kind of expecting the crowd to be beyond six figures. But I think it
Crowd था,
hit the
ऐसा नहीं है कि crowd नहीं था. I mean, it
नहीं
was
crowd
definitely
नहीं
more than
crowd.
Delhi.
And of course, the size of the stadium and the
True.
capacity, is pretty high. I think it was around 50 to 60K is what I get to know. So yeah, I personally speaking kind of dislike the fact that politicians when they stray around stadium, but it's okay. I get the entire G20 thing and stuff. India, Australia, two cricketing nations. I get that. I get that thing. So yeah, I just wanted it to be over as soon as possible. I was waiting for
Waiting
the
for the
first ball to
cricket.
be bowled. Yeah.
Yeah.
So ready for the cricket
So
between three teams. By the way, it's not two. It's India versus Australia versus the pitch in double quotes.
yes, the pitch. Let's talk about the
Yeah.
pitch. So the whole series, I think, which overshadowed some of the discussion, especially the third test, where I think ball it started turning right in the first over of, I think, Ashwin or Jadeja was bowling it. I
Yeah.
think it just started turning in the Delhi pitch, and I think there was this whole post match in that last test match after where Rohit Sharma said, we like to have these pitches. I mean, I'm just paraphrasing it here, but I'm ऐसे
Right.
pitches में हमें पसंद
Absolutely.
है and all that. And so India, obviously, home conditions, they allow that element. You suit it to the home team's style and strategy. But it does look like pitch discussion has overshadowed a lot, and I was very curious to see कि ये Ahmedabad का pitch कैसा होगा, and it was very different, right, from Delhi and and
It
and, and
it
the
was. It
others.
was. I think. Yeah, it was. I think the entire
Indore,
pitch.
yeah,
Yeah, right, right. I think the entire pitch thing has. If I just can compare this, so it's almost like what's behind the gungat, or what's behind the veil. I mean, if a person is getting, I mean, in India, I think still the arranged marriage thing is quite prevalent. Although I think the bride and the bridegroom, they do get to meet. But I think at least if you want to clock it back, let's say 20, 30 years, I think there was a time when the bride and the bridegroom only get to meet, you know, post marriage or during marriage. And the entire excitement of the bride and the bridegroom, especially the bride, was, how does my wife look like? And wife, you won't be able to see the wife because she's having a ghungat. I mean, I don't want to be religion, uh, what do you call religion bias? You also have the veil on the other side of the world. So the entire excitement used to be around, okay, what's behind the ghungat? When can I remove the ghungat? So I think the entire series, before the ball was balled in each of the test matches, was what's the pitch going to look like? What's the pitch
yeah.
going to look like? So I think there have been many comparisons which have been drawn. I mean, Rahul Dravid being compared to Sherlock Holmes and stuff. I mean, and possibly people can read about it.
Interesting. I didn't know this. Okay.
So yeah, there's a little bit of controversy around how much a team really can get involved with the curator. When you
Yeah, there
see
was all that stories where the curator was wearing an Indian cricket jersey. I think
jersey,
वो
yeah,
पहले third
yeah,
test के बाद, yeah, I don't know where the sequence was, but it was being brought up. And I mean, I was very curious to see कि ये pitch कैसा होगा, but I
right.
think
I think
pitch was not normal, regular, if I compare to
I
the.
don't know if the Indian management came under pressure because of I think it was not only the third pitch, even the first pitch and the second pitch by ICC were coined as
Poor, correct, correct.
average, and the third one ultimately was
Third one
poor.
was declared as poor, correct.
So I'm not really sure, but I think there possibly was a dilemma, as in what do they really produce in the fourth test. Although before the match started, it seemed like it's gonna be a turner, and that's what it has been in the recent past. And in the last test match, if you can remember, which was versus England, it was a turner. But yeah, to my surprise, as soon as I saw the ball one and I saw the swing and a little bit of seam, I kind of knew. I didn't watch the pitch report per se, but it seemed different. I mean, as soon as you find out first eight overs to be bowled by the Indian seamers, which possibly was no, not possibly, it was the first time in this
Yeah, I
entire
think
series,
Ashwin or
at
Jadeja were
least.
just coming in third or fourth over, or they were like there. I think even in the second
Yeah,
innings, they started the ball. I mean, they started. I mean, I understand in the second innings.
right.
So,
Right.
yeah,
So I think
interesting.
it was the best case scenario for Australia to be possible, and hence I feel, even though Australia has their noses in front, but somewhere I feel, Australia did not stamp the authority. I think the second session, especially Smith, he could have been a little bossy, if I may say
Yeah,
so.
I'll come to the second session, but I thought I'll
Right,
switch back and say, so we saw the pitch.
right.
So the team, I think Indian team was same. I think Shami
Uh,
came in front of
Shami for
in
Siraj.
as
I think,
Suraj,
yeah,
and Australia was
Siraj.
unchanged, which made sense because they had jeet gaye the. So
R-
I mean, they had to
r-
be. They had to keep the same set of lineup, and I think Australia won the toss and they
yeah,
chose to bat. Right? There was a stat, right? Ki people this series or in the recent times,
yeah,
if someone is winning the toss, they're actually losing it. Is that the stat
yeah,
which
yeah,
came out,
yeah,
or is that the
yeah. This is
narrative
at
which
least
came
in
out?
this, yeah, at least in this series, that's what
That's what
is
exactly
happening.
happened, right? Whoever won the toss, they
Yeah, yeah.
lost
Oh,
eventually the test match. So it was very interesting to see
right.
Australia won that game, and I think that pitch played the factor, right? Like देखा होगा कि this is not that pitch or doesn't look like that. Maybe we go in,
Right.
we get in, and then stay, and then maybe we put the pressure on India.
I
So what
yeah, I think I
happened?
think
First over, first session. What was it
I
like?
I think before I get into the first session, I think irrespective of the pitch and irrespective of the results, I think any captain, um, blindfolded, he would basically choose to bat first. I mean, irrespective of what has
Correct.
happened in the test 1, test 2, test 3. But yeah, I think pitch was the surprising element as far as how it basically behaved. So as far as session 1 goes, I think it was even Stevens. I think Australia started very well, especially Head. I think if Head would have been around for a little longer, at least let's say around 30 to 45 minutes, Australia could have scored at least 100, if not 125 plus in the opening session. But I think as soon as he got out, and when he got out, just look at the contrast. I think when he got out, the run rate was around 4, and at the end of session 1, I think Australia was scoring at a rate of 2.5 or 2.6. So just look at the drastic change in the scoring rate. So I think India would have left happy uh, when they got Head out, and eventually Labuschagne. I think Labuschagne has been a little disappointment. I think he has shown a little bit of brilliance here and there, but the way or the method that he's basically got out to, I think he is caught on the crease, playing on the back foot. In the past, it's been to Ravindra Jadeja and company. Now he's got out to, I think he got out to Shami.
Shami.
Very
Yeah.
same way. Yeah, very same way. I mean, you can
Stumps
point
getting
out.
rattled.
Yeah, you can point out that I think all the times that he's basically got bowled out, the ball has kept low. But I think now he's playing. This is his 7th innings. He possibly should have learnt his lessons somewhere. But yeah, he looks good and he gets out. I think, and similarly with Steve Smith, although he got out at in the second session. But yeah, I think Labuschagne Head uh, and Australia did not leave with good momentum, if I may say, and hence you would call it as an even Steven sort of a session. I think first hour clearly belonged to Australia, with Head doing the bulk of the scoring,
Correct.
and the second session was completely dominated by India.
Even in
So
that
I think
first
even
session,
Stevens.
even in that first session, if I remember right, because till that time I was awake and I was watching the game. It was night and I could not see the second session and third session. But even in that first session, until the drinks break, as you said, Travis Head was really, going on the front foot there. When I thought
Yeah,
that,
he was.
Jadeja or Ashwin were there, I thought they made that was a tough time. We were able to see the pitch ki kaisa hai. If I felt कि अगर इन लोगों ने कुछ impact करा होता और immediately a wicket लिया होता, it would have been different. And I remember that, was it Shami or I believe it was Shami. The first over, right? The ball was turning and I think there was even a dropped catch. Shrikar Bharat, it was a very
Oh
easy
yeah,
catch
yeah,
for him and then he
yeah.
dropped it. The ball
Yeah.
was
So I
swinging here and there. I think there was some, the extras were started to play that
right,
play in that first segment of the thing.
right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So I think it was Umesh Yadav. I think he dropped the setter, if I would say. I think he was not expecting the catch. I'm not really sure how many nicks that he has got behind the wicket on a fast or a seam bowler in this particular season. So possibly he wasn't expecting it. But I mean, if I just have to speak about Bharat for a minute, see, Pant is going to be out for a minimum of 2.5 years. I'm not really sure what's the next Indian assignment is as far as the Test match is concerned. If he wants to be in the team, and I'm using the word he wants to be in the team, he got to make sure he scores something substantially in the first or the second innings. He hasn't batted well, and of course, I mean, none of the batsmen from either of the teams have batted well, barring one or two, likes of Rohit, Rakshas, and Paja. But I think this is an ideal opportunity. He has to make it count. He has kept relatively well, at least to the spinners in these conditions. But yeah, I think it was just one fumble. So yeah, he got to make this test count as far as if he wants to make sure his selection in the further test matches. I think they might be playing West Indies, if I'm right. That's the next series that they might have, or it might be England. I'm not so sure. So he just have to play a substantial inning in this particular test match for sure.
Right. So, a recap for the viewers in the audience. So, Australia
Yeah.
won the toss. Australia had Travis Head and Usman Khwaja start of the day. They ended the day with 255 for four. I think lunch ke time pe Australia was, I think, at 75 for two or something like that. They lost, I think, one
Right.
Slabachan by that time. And so
Right.
that, yeah,
They
as you
lost,
said,
right.
even India pulled back.
Even Stevens. Yeah.
So what happened after lunch? This is why I'm clueless here. What happened after
I think the post-lunch session was a dud.
Okay.
For, I would say,
So it
I
was a
would
very
say for
different,
both.
it was like a regular test session, not the test sessions we are seeing with
Regular,
baseball.
yeah, and regular, and that was a little surprising because the ball wasn't turning. The ball wasn't seaming around, at least like the way it did for the first 7 to 8 overs for Shami and
Correct.
Umesh. Although
Shami.
I think India did come out with a tactic of bowling short to Smith, which really didn't work. But
Knows how to
again,
play it. He's good at it.
he is good at it, but the way he plays, Smith, sometimes it gives sort of an indication that he may not really play or handle the short bowling well. And you had the entire Archer episode in Ashes where he got hit on the head,
Correct.
if I'm right, which led not Usman Khwaja, Marnus Labuschagne come into the world cricket. Yeah, so it kind of given an indication, but he handled it well. Smith gave an indication somewhere, possibly he is going to go beyond 50 this time. I think his highest score was 35 or 36 before this match. And this was an ideal pitch. But somehow, again, I think he as I said at the start of our session, he just didn't stamp his authority. Somewhere down the line, he possibly could have broken those shackles, if I may say. The entire session, I think Usman Khwaja as well, but either one of them. And Smith, considering he has been a seasoned campaigner, he has played really well. Honestly speaking, I mean, he has played the last series, which happened in 2017 and 2018, in similar conditions. They were not they were as bad as what he has faced in this entire series. But so for some reason, he hasn't been able to stamp his authority or gets any score of substance in any of the test matches. So, and again, he got out, looked settled, but again he got out. I'm not really sure who got his wicket, but either it was Ashwin or Jadeja. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Jadeja. I think Jadeja has his number, if I can sense it. So yeah, so it was a dud. I would say the second session didn't move anywhere.
And Usman
If you
Khwaja
just
ticked along on the other end.
ticked along, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, ticked along, and if you would just want to be which camp you would want to be in, I would say Indian camp, because Australia didn't run away with a session and they lost 2 wickets. No, I think they didn't lose a wicket. I think they
no,
they
I
didn't
don't
lose
think
it.
they lost. I don't think they
They
lost a
didn't lose
wicket
a
there.
wicket.
But I think that is a win, right? Because if you look at
That's
the
a win.
previous two test matches, they were crumbling. Okay, yeah, you can say they could not adapt to the pitch was turning. No, it was like unplayable deliveries onto them. But you have to give credit to them. Yeah, they survived the session without losing a wicket, because a couple of wickets there, and I think it was what was it, the first test where they really lost 100
Yeah,
for 109,
yeah,
111,
in a
and then they
session,
just,
in a session.
yeah, in a session. So essentially they would have given up. I think that may have played in their minds, let's take it around. And I think Usman Khwaja was the star. Let's talk about him. How did
Oh,
how did he play?
I think, and I think I sent you the song. I think
Khwaja
Khwaja
Mere
Mere
Khwaja.
Khwaja. I think the entire Aussie camp should be singing that song. I think he's been the star performer. I think he's
Even
played
played
well.
well in that last match as well, where he got that 60
Yeah,
odd, I believe.
no, that's the last match. I mean, he played well in the second match as well. He scored 81 there, and
Yeah.
that was, even that was a difficult wicket. So he has played well. I think the way he gets behind the ball, if I have to get a little bit on technicalities, there's a slight difference between the way between Manas Labuschagne and Steve Smith. They play away from their body, and that's where they either nick the ball, edge it, or get caught behind. And Manas Labuschagne, I think we have already spoken about his issues, but he plays behind the ball. I think it's a little different. I think I'm not really sure when was the last time. Maybe Andy Flower was the one who I might, if I'm able to recollect, played Indian spinners the way Usman Khwaja is playing. So he's been really impressive. I cannot recollect. I watched possibly all the balls of the entire day. I do not think there was a ball which he nicked or he looked troubled, which speaks volumes. Although I know the pitch was much more conducive compared to rest of the test matches, but he looked as he belonged there, and he's been having a marvelous Asian. Overall, I think if I'm right, he's one of the highest test scorers since I think in 2021, post 2021. I think he, Johnny Bairstow, and Joe Root. I think these are the top three scores. I'm not really sure, the duration of or the time span of these three guys scoring the runs. But yeah, I think he's playing well. He played well in Pakistan. I'm not really sure how much that has helped him, considering
I would
the
think that would
pitches
have
and
helped him because subcontinent pitches, subcontinent conditions.
yeah,
I think they would have given
but
some, at least some element of. Obviously, it's
yeah,
not the
yeah,
same opposition here. It's not Ashwin or
and
Jadeja and everything.
but yeah, it's the Pakistan pitches, right? You're playing on a glass.
You're
So playing on a glass. Flat tracks.
So,
So I think he's played well. I think he. I wouldn't say he is the Matthew Hayden of the series, a la 2001 2000 series,
no,
because
come on.
that was a
That was a
comeback
different
series of.
series.
That was a comeback series for Matthew Hayden, but it's not the comeback series for Usman Khawaja. But he has been very, very impressive, I think. Yeah.
So let's talk last session. I think India ended the session at T by. Oh, sorry, Australia ended it at 149 for 2. Khwaja was at 65.
Right.
Smith is at 38, and then I think last session India picked up the wickets.
Yeah, I think this started well. They got Smith. They got Peter Hanscom, who was looking well, and he has played again. He looks like a batsman who is in and he gets out. Something similar to Labuschagne, although I think he has 150 plus score in one of those difficult pitches in Test 1. I think Test number 1. So yeah, India were able to get Smith out and along with Peter Hanscom, and they got them relatively. Yeah, sorry, and they got them relatively quickly, and India had their noses in front this time around. And if you just look at where Australia stood at 200 for 4 at the end of 80 overs. So if you can just do a very simple math, I think they were scoring at 2.4 runs per over. So at the end of 81st over, and this is a questionable decision. I mean, if you want to, talk about the entire day one, I think if you want to ask certain questions, what is the turning point of day one? I think it wouldn't be, India getting the wicket of Travis Head when he was going well, or India getting the wicket of Smith when he looked settled. I think it was a very questionable decision of Rohit Sharma. And it didn't serve any purpose, and the results were out to be seen immediately. I think the first over, as soon as the new ball was taken, was hit for 12 runs. I think I'm not really sure who it was. I think either it was one of the seam bowlers. Cameron Green was the one who took charge. I think Cameron Green was playing extremely cautious before the new ball was taken, and he just cut loose. I think post a new ball. I think the first over, as soon as the new ball was taken, was scored for 10 to 12 runs. Not a lot, but considering the rate at which Australia was scoring, and he just kept on the momentum going for Australia for the rest of the session. I think in the last 7 to 8 overs, Australia was able to score 56 runs, which is quite a pace, considering where they were going or the way they have scored the entire day. So I think it was a questionable decision. I'm not really sure, why Rohit Sharma chose to take the new ball. They got 2 wickets, early in the session.
If it did not take the new ball, what would have happened? They would have let Aksar and Ashwin to have continued the spin? Is it old ball? What impact old ball would have helped India there?
So, and see, that's where the discussion of this pitch comes into picture. I think this pitch, apart from being a little batting friendly, hasn't broken down yet. and the turn that this pitch has is a little slow. So when the ball is old and the pitch is slow, it gives a little time to the batsman to adjust to the turning ball and play their shots. But when the pitch is slow, you cannot score freely. And looking at where Australia was before the new ball was taken, they got the wicket of Steve Smith, they got the wicket of Peter Hanscom with the old ball. Australia scoring at a snail's pace.
They could have tightened the pressure. They could have just attacked them.
Kept on going. Or take the new ball and bowl with the spinners.
Well, he took the new ball and gave it back to Umesh and Shami.
Yeah, Umesh and Shami.
Essentially, the traditional route. New ball lete ho and you give it to your fast bowler.
Give it to your fast bowlers, but it wasn't the start of the day sort of conditions where the ball was swinging or seaming. And it did not change the entire 7 to 8 overs. I think he kept on bowling Shami and Umesh for the rest of the day, and that's where Aussies would have felt that they have fared a little better than India at the end of the day.
And I think Usman Khwaja, I think, scored his century in the last over or last.
Oh yeah, right.
Amazing.
Right.
Amazing.
But the entire session belonged to, as far as Australia is concerned, belonged to Cam Green. He just picked up the momentum and he didn't look back.
I mean, when you say 80 overs, they were 200, and then 90 overs, they ended at 255 for 4. That's just a 5-run rate, almost 5-run rate there. So
yeah,
I still think. Where do you think India went wrong in that session? I mean, they picked up the wicket, so they did a comeback. They didn't.
Yeah. So as I said, I think the new
Rohit Sharma thing.
Rohit Sharma. I think if you just want to point your finger, and again, it's on the hindsight. I mean, if you go by
very well true.
I mean, if you look at the books, once the new ball is taken, you hand over the ball to the seamers. But there was no reason. I mean, there was no reason first to take the new ball, considering the way Cam Green was he was looking a little tentative. He was very comfortable blocking. So you can sense
circumspect. He was circumspect.
Yeah, and Cam Green is usually an aggressive player, and if you've kept that particular player quiet for a long time,
he's bound to make a mistake, try to play his natural game and then get out. That probably would have been the play, but I think. So, who was the best Indian bowler?
I think Shami. I think Shami was by far India's best bowler, and I think I wouldn't use the word disappointing, but one thing that has kind of held true in the past as well. Ravindra Jadeja kind of struggles in these sort of pitches. He needs a favorable pitch for him to perform.
Turning track, rank turner.
And see, all he needs basically is a ball not to turn a mile. He just needs a ball to turn this much. So eventually, when you look at, if you look at all the wickets, majority of the Australian wickets, you wouldn't find a batsman getting out to a ball which has turned viciously. It would be a 1 degree, 2 degree sort of a turn, and that's where Jadeja is very good at. You give him a graveyard of a pitch, okay, and he just turns the ball because the batsman is kind of expecting the ball to turn a mile, and they play for the turn, and the ball doesn't turn a lot, and that's where majority. That's where in Indian conditions he's been able to get majority of his wickets. So one thing which kind of came held true to everyone belief who has watched Jadeja in the past, and that's one of the reasons he hasn't been able to pick wickets outside Asia or India, if I'm right. So I wouldn't use the word disappointing, but yeah, I mean that's what history says as far as Jadeja record is concerned. But Shami, he bowled very well. I think there was an occasion when he bounced Cam Green. And Cam Green is 198 meters. I'm not really sure how that would translate into.
You mean 198 centimeters? That would probably be 6'4",
6'7".
6'5", maybe even 6'5", I think.
He's taller than Stark, and Mitchell Stark
Wow.
is tall.
Mitchell Stark is 6'4", 6'5", if I'm right.
And he was, I think, Shami was able to get bounce to a level, I think, to the level of the nose.
Wow.
And the ball
It's
lobbed up in
very
the air.
surprising to see Indian pitchers doing this kind of bounce. I mean, usually you don't associate the pitchers the bouncy.
Which talks about Shami, which talks about it. I think this is not a pacey wicket by any means. It's a slow pitch.
He was still able to produce that bounce and kind of give that.
It's a slow pitch.
Give that back.
We know how it's a slow pitch. We know how Labuschagne got out. Ball kept low, and he was still able to get ball kept low. Yeah, a little low. I wouldn't say like.
Correct. It's not low like Indore or what you saw in the other test.
But low, but still low. Considering it's still a day one pitch. But he bowled well. He really bowled well. So I think they will look up to Shami come day two if they can find some sort of swing or a seam. He is basically a seam bowler. So they will look up to Shami at least in the first half an hour, if I can be honest enough, to get a wicket or two, and then they would depend upon the Ashwins and the Jaddus and the Akshars to pick up the rest. I think the next key wicket, I think apart from Cam Green and Usman Khwaja, I think the next key wicket, and I think that's the last recognizable pair. I think even though Alex Carey, even though Mitchell Stark can talk the ball around, and he has, and honestly speaking, he has a very good batting record in India. I think his highest score of 98 is in India, so his batting record is better than his bowling record in India, to be honest, and that's what even the stats would say. So, but yeah, the last recognizable pair that Australia has is Alex Carey. So. And this is I would say a favorable pitch as far as Alex Carey is concerned.
I think it
will suit him. So it will suit him. I think Australia should have a target of 350 plus, a bare minimum.
I think I mean if Cameron Green survives the first 30 minutes in day two, and if he starts to keep the run scores ticking like they do. And if they reach 300 pretty quickly, like a drinks break or something, I am looking this close to 400. Maybe I'm optimistic here.
It could be. No, it could be.
I see Usman Khwaja. He'll stay there. He'll stick around. I don't think he will change anything there on his side. But I see Cameron Green may get that license to push the run rate, push the scoring around. And I think if India needs to get back into the game, they need to get Cameron Green very quickly in the day to morning play. Get Alex Carey pretty quickly as well. If they can get these two out, the scoring rate will stop. And then the spinners can get into the tail, and then you can if that happens, mujhe lagta hai ki then I think this would be a 350, 325, 350 that thing. But I mean, the way I look at it, 250 by 4 after first three tests, 90 overs. I think this was Australia's day. I don't think Australia would have.
You can say so.
Australia would have taken this. I mean, at the start of the day.
At the start of the day, for sure.
At the start of the day,
I think. Right.
Usman Khwaja century. I think a lot of positives for them in day one. I think they set up well for day two.
Right. I think what's going to matter in day two is how the pitch behaves in day two. Has it deteriorated from day one? It looks unlikely. I think the pitch, if it starts to break up, I think it's going to start somewhere on day three. Just looking at the way the pitch has behaved, I didn't see a ball turn. I just didn't literally see a ball turn, which was a surprise considering the nature of pitches that we saw in day one, day two, day three. I'm sorry, test one, test two, test three. And even in the previous test matches that I think England came here or Sri Lanka came here, I think even New Zealand also played a couple of test matches here. So it was a little surprising, but let's see how the pitch behaves in day two. But yeah, I think Australia is going to look up to Usman Khwaja to be there, stay on the crease, give company to Cam Green and Alex Carey, who can who can be positive, keep up the momentum. I mean, keep up the momentum that they took away, that they have in the last session or the last hour. I think it's gonna boil down to these three batsmen eventually. If Australia if they're looking to set up a target of 400, it all depends upon how much Khwaja, Carey, and Cam Green, how much can they score. I think the other thing which Australia has to keep in mind is the scoring rate. If Australia wants to win the match, and if pitch doesn't crumble or it crumbles late, they don't want to leave it too late.
Too late, yeah.
So yeah,
I,
because
I would think the best way to Australia is to attack here. Cam Green has to take the charge, continue the charge.
right,
He's at 49 of 63 balls or something like that, if I remember right. So I think he should just push that forward. So yeah, I mean, I think that's it. Day one, right? I mean, 255 or 4.
right.
I think advantage Australia. Let's see how day two thinks. So what's your prediction of Australia in day two?
360 all out, and I think
All out. Who's going to take the wickets?
All out. I think it's going to be a combination of all bowlers contributing here and there. Because I mean, even though Shami kind of stood out, but I don't expect Shami to run away and take all the remaining wickets. Yeah, so I think it's going to be all the bowlers contributing. Shami, Jadeja, and Ashwin. So I see Australia getting on to 360, 370 at the bare maximum.
I think they will take it. And that will put pressure on India. I think that will put pressure very much on the batsman.
Right. Yeah. So, and I expect India to come where at the stroke of
the session 3, session 2,
20
minutes before session 2.
End of 20
minutes before it ends, and then want to get in there and give some nice bouncers to Shubman Gill and Rohit Sharma and make them survive that 20 minutes or 30 minutes. I think that would be very interesting. I think that is it, right? I think we'll end it here today. I think this was a great start for us. We'll get better as we go along in this journey, but we can talk a lot. I mean, after this we have IPL coming in, and then we have Ashes coming in. So, and then World Cup cricket. So across the format, T20, ODI, tests, there is a lot to talk about. And I think this Border Gavaskar Trophy, I think, was fantastic. It really kept up to its high caliber test series, which India-Australia has been in the last decade or so. And I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Although, I don't like test matches ending in 3 days. That kind of like the whole point is, make it exciting, like how New Zealand and England did the other day, where, it was that last session, day 5, getting into that last overs and then trying to that I think was the pinnacle of what test cricket is all about. But it was good to see high quality game being played in India. I would think this would be a good start for us to open our podcast channel, YouTube channel, whatever we can do it here, just explore our content and talk about our opinions. So I think thank you, Saurav, for coming and doing it together with us, with me. Yes, so we will again come back tomorrow. We might do it a little bit shorter segment because today was day 1. It had a lot more elements to it. Before I end, what's the highlight of the day?
I think the highlight of the day is Rohit Sharma taking the new ball.
For me, the highlight of the day, what I saw was Narendra Modi sitting in that Rath Yatra or whatever you can call it, going around the lap of honor. I don't think it can be. I mean, in his own stadium, on his own name, you can't beat that. Call it what you may, but I think that was killer. that was a statement of its own. I felt it's hilarious. It was amazing though. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if people love test matches, I think there are 2 more test matches we spoke briefly about.
There are South Africa is West Indies, and Sri Lanka is playing New Zealand. I think Sri Lanka ended at 305 for 6.
Yeah, so both the matches.
What happened with South Africa, West Indies?
So South Africa scored 312. They were bowled out for 312. And I think West Indies. I think that it was a good day. I watched bits of it. So I think both the test matches in the Southern Hemisphere, I think they've lived up to, I wouldn't say expectation per se, but they've been exciting. They've been exciting.
I actually was surprised
Sri
Sri Lanka survived 305 for 6 on day one in New Zealand. That looked like a greenish sort of a wicket to me. I mean, I saw a couple of overs. I didn't see a lot, but yeah, I switched on and saw it. But
I think they're playing Hagley Oval, and Hagley Oval traditionally is a batting wicket.
that explains it.
Yeah. But yeah, South Africa West Indies was actually very exciting.
I
If
don't care
everyone
about South
anyone
Africa.
Yeah, and
Useless.
South Africa would be a happier side at the end of the day one as well.
It's
But
a
although they are,
it's a dead rubber series. No one cares except
yeah,
South Africa team and West Indies team.
It could have been interesting if South Africa would have just managed one victory over one test match victory over Australia when they were there a couple of months back.
Well, yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, we're looking now forward for possibly India Australia World Test Championship final. We'll see. For that they have 3-4 days more to go for this one. We'll come back again tomorrow. Hopefully the same time, similar time. Maybe it will be a shorter segment.
A million dollar question before we leave. How many days this test match lasts?
Looking at the pitch yesterday and looking at what happened on day one, I think this is going till minimum day 3, 5? Maybe I would say 4, day 4.
Yeah, I think
I'm not sure it'll go day 5. Make us,
day
4, as you said, right? Make it crumble by day 4, by day 4, and spinners on both sides would come into the play. So you never know. Second innings collapse by either of the teams is very much a possibility.
Yeah, I think day 4 is open for sure. I think if it's going to go day 5, I think we would get to know by tea tomorrow for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if India, I think if we'll know it tomorrow. I think if India starts well, keeps their wickets by tomorrow evening, and essentially the storyline is India needs to get these guys out pretty quickly, 350, get in quickly, and then Rohit Sharma or Shubman Gill has to stay. And I think it's an important series for Shubman Gill with KL Rahul still lurking around. If he gets going, and if one of these top 3 guys, Pujara included, sticks it out, and India takes it better, I think this is going day 4. I think then, because the way I see it is Australia wants a result here. They would like to end it with 2-2 here. So I don't think Australia is going to go for a draw here. And I don't think India wants a draw here, because India wants to steal a victory to ensure their confirmation on World Test final. So they both have very different ways of approaching the game here with win in mind. So I am predicting that they would try to be a little bit more attacking and attack minded as the days go by, so that they achieve their objectives, be it confirmation of World Test Championship final, select confirmation, or to end it on a high.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I think it'll be very exciting, pretty exciting day 2 and day 3 for sure. So, but yeah, thank you, Saurav.
I think before we close, I think it's going to be a very interesting test match for Virat Kohli as well. I think people have been waiting for that century for a long time. He has looked good.
How many centuries did he score so far?
I think in test it's around 27, and he's stuck on 27 for 3 years now.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I have to end because I need to start my other meeting. Sure. But good talking to you, Saurav. I think this was a great start. Sure. We will continue again on with a model day to review. Thank you again.
See you tomorrow.
We'll talk everyone later. Thank you. Bye-bye.